So we have been doing the fourth book, the book of birth and quest, almost for 4 months, starting from 2nd April, and last time we saw the last part of the book. So what we could do now is kind of quickly run through the book and try to link up the threads, join the threads together and see how the story, how the narrative develops and to what point it takes us. Now, the book of birth and quest is a book which was written by Sri Aurobindo at one time at a very early stage itself of the Savitri draft. But before that, let me tell you a few points about the statistics of this book. There are, of course, in this book 4 cantos: the birth and childhood of the flame, the growth of the flame, the call to the quest, and the quest. These are the 4 cantos of the book. In the first canto, the birth and childhood of the flame, there are 2 sections, and the number of sentences in each section is, in the first section, we have got 33 sentences. In the second, we have 50 sentences. In other words, in the first canto, there are in all 83 sentences. In the second canto, the growth of the flame, there are 3 sections, and the number of sentences in each section is 40, 12, and 13. So the total number of sentences again in the second canto is 65. In the third canto, the call to the quest, there is only one section actually, and the total number of sentences in that section is 63. And in the last canto, the quest, there are 2 sections, and the total number of sentences is 62 in the last section, last canto. So we have got therefore 83, 65, 63, 62 sentences in each canto, which is more or less, I will say, kind of equal division of the number of sentences. So in all, in these 4 cantos, or in this 4th book, there are 273 sentences. The book consists of 273 sentences. Now, in a very early letter in 1936, Sri Aurobindo writes something about this book. This letter addressed to Amal Kiran in 1936. He says the first 5 books, he's talking of the status of Savitri, the epic Savitri, as it stood in 1936. It was not in the manner in which we see it here. There were basically 2 major parts in that, and he says in the first part there are 5 books. The first 5 books of that part 1 of that 1936 draft of Savitri. The number of books are like this. The Book of Birth, that itself stands as a complete book, the Book of Birth. Then the Book of Quest. In other words, what we have here, Birth and Quest, as a single book in 1936, it was divided into two parts. It existed in two parts, the Book of Birth and the Book of Quest. Then, of course, after the Book of Quest, the Book of Love, the Book of Fate, and the Book of Death. That is how the composition stood in 1936 as far as this part is concerned. The Book of Birth, the Book of Quest, the Book of Love, the Book of Fate, and the Book of Death. Now, at that time, in 1936, there did not exist what we have now here, the second book, the Book of the Traveler of the World. The various planes of consciousness which are described in the second book of the present version, in the last version, that did not exist in 1936. He says there was no climbing of planes at that time. Those 14 cantos which are there, they did not exist at that time. Savitri moved through worlds of night, of twilight, and of day. That is what I got the last part of it, so to say. Savitri moved through worlds of night, of twilight, of day, and ended by calling down the power of the highest world of Sachidananda. Savitri moved through night, twilight, day, and she is calling down the powers of Sachidananda upon the earth. That is, calling down the power of the highest world of Sachidananda, that corresponds to the Book of Everlasting Day, or Book 11 in the present text here, you see. So that is how it stood in 1936 in terms of the scheme of the epic. In fact, later on, the scheme of the epic also got completely modified, completely altered. Not completely, but considerably, I will say. And of course, the expansion of the theme was enormous after that. What we have here in 1936 are kind of small passages here and there and things like that, small narratives at different places, but not the manner in which we see it here. That thing came after 1936. In fact, I will say much of the work which you see here belongs to the period from 1936 to 1944 in his own handwriting, Sri Aurobindo. 1936, 1937 roughly you can say, to 1946. All of them came in his own handwriting, and he kept on revising and redrafting many of these things, kept on adding lines after lines, canto after canto, like that. This is what happened during those 6-7 years. Then, after 1944, he of course had the help of Nurul Barar as his scribe, and then he started dictating. So that is another phase of composition of Savitri. But basically, essentially, as far as this particular book is concerned, the Book of Birth and Quest, we have here in a letter written by Sri Aurobindo in 1946, again to Amal Kiran. He writes to Amal Kiran in 1946. At that time, Amal Kiran was in Bombay, so they used to correspond with each other through postal letters, you see. So it's a very long letter, and in that letter, Sri Aurobindo says that the Book of Birth and Quest and the Book of Love have been completed. So you can say that basically the final form of the Book of Birth and Quest was arrived around 1945. So that is the date of composition of the Book of Birth and Quest, or the fourth book of Savitri. Now, in his brief background, Nirodbaran writes about this book in his 12 years with Sri Aurobindo. He says that what Nirodbaran writes, Book 4, the Book of Birth and Quest, is fairly revised by Sri Aurobindo. When he became the scribe at that time, it was fairly revised by Sri Aurobindo himself. Is fairly revised by Sri Aurobindo. Several versions before the end of 1938 have been worked upon while he is coming to that point. These versions are expansions of much older drafts, much before 1938. Means you are writing some passages here, some passages there at different times, different periods. These versions are expansions of much older drafts, one of them possibly dating back to Baroda. He says it could have been perhaps drafted even when he was in Baroda. Now, there is of course no confirmation about this one, because if Sri Aurobindo had written anything in Baroda about Savitri, that draft does not exist. That draft is not available. And what we can say is that the earliest written draft of Savitri belongs to the Arya period, from 1916 to 1918. That is the first draft of Savitri which is available to us, and 1916 to 1918. But he also says in one of his letters in the 1930s that he had taken up the writing of Savitri long before the mother's arrival. Long before the mother's arrival. Now that long before, of course, does not mean in 1920, because that is not really long before that way, and he did not really write much about that. Long before could easily mean before her coming to Pondicherry first time in 1914. So possibly he did write Savitri in some form during his Baroda period. And to that extent, to that effect, it is also a statement by one who was staying with Sri Aurobindo in Baroda, Dinendranath Roy. He was staying in Baroda with Sri Aurobindo to help Sri Aurobindo to speak Bengali in a Bengali way. It was for that purpose Dinendranath Roy stayed with Sri Aurobindo in Baroda. And in his memoirs, in his notes, he says that Sri Aurobindo had written something about Savitri at that time. That draft does not exist, but he has mentioned that thing. Now, this draft is not, the existence of this draft is not accepted at all by the archives people. They say that it does not exist because we have no basis to assume that he did write anything about Savitri before he came to Calcutta. But that is another story. So as far as the Book of Birth and Quest is concerned, we can say that small passages here and there were present in different places, in different contexts till 1938. when Sri Aurobindo started writing systematically Savitri as a full epic after 1938, then we can say that the book of birth and quest, along with the book of love, was completed by him by 1945. So we can say that this book belongs to the period 1945. In fact, I would rather go by one simple way of looking at things, that Savitri is a work which was really taken up by Sri Aurobindo during the last 12 years of his being here. So we can say that after the accident, after he had completed the revision of the Life Divine in 1939-1940, he took up Savitri most intensively. So the last decade is the period where the final Savitri is present. And book of birth and quest, as we are here, belongs to that period to see here. Now that is the little historical background about the composition of Savitri. Now let us see how the theme develops in Savitri. Rather, instead of saying theme develop, let us pick up certain key phrases from various cantos and see what they really convey, to what extent we can grasp the significance of those key phrases. That is what we can see while we are surveying it. Now, Savitri, the first canto itself, as you know, it is named The Birth and Childhood of the Flame. That is the opening canto. Opening canto of Book of Words. 93, section 93.1, right at the beginning. Now, this is important. The birth and childhood of the flame. It has deep spiritual connotations. Normally, when we talk of the flame, we refer to it as a psychic being. That is the psychic flame, you see. Psychic flame. So it is that which is going to take birth and which is going to grow. But at the same time, we have to understand that psychic being does not really take birth. It is immortal. It moves, you might say, from birth to birth in its evolutionary progress to carry out the alchemic transformation of nature. It goes through several births. So, when he says birth of the flame, it could also mean the very first appearance of Savitri upon earth. Upon earth. As the mother says, since the beginning of the earth, whenever and wherever there was a possibility of the manifestation of the ray of the Supreme, I was there since the beginning. Now, that birth of the flame refers to that since the beginning. It refers to that since the beginning. That is the birth of Savitri. And her childhood is the growth through several lives. And that is what we see also in the description of the book. how the psychic brain really grows. That is, if you associate flame with psychic being Agni, the immortal in the mortal, that is the flame. The immortal in the mortal, that is Agni. So that is the appearance of Agni in this evolutionary creation. Now what that also means is, if we go again by the mother's revelation, that since the beginning of the earth, whenever etc. ever there, means her coming here, her having the psychic being, is right from the beginning of the earth, which also means that it coincides with the birth of the earth itself, earth's psychic being, and Savitri's psychic being, they appeared together simultaneously in this creation. And it is from that point onward evolution starts. Evolution starts from that point onward. Without the psychic being, there is no evolution. So that is the connotation, if we can understand that way, of the birth of the flame. Now, going in a slightly different direction, associating this development with the kind of narratives we have in the ancient scriptures, we can say that the birth of Savitri is in response to the tapasya of Ashwapati. He is carrying the world's desire to the Supreme and invoking her to come here and take mortal birth. Ashwapati, in the story of the Mahabharata, is issueless and he is concerned about the welfare of the society, and therefore he engages himself in yajna, in worshipping the fire, Agni, and for 18 years he offers oblations to Agni, ahutis as we call them, for 18 years, starting from early in the morning till late in the evening, constantly for 18 years, taking very little food once in a day and constantly praying. That is the kind of a tapasya, that is the kind of a yoga of the ancient days, when for spiritual growth they used to offer their prayers by offering something to fire, to Agni, the mystic fire. At the end of the 18-year period, Goddess Savitri, the divine Savitri, she appears in the fireplace, in the fire altar, Yajna Kunda. She appears in the Yajna Kunda, flaming there. She comes there, and it is that flame, Yajna Kunda, which grants a boon to Ashwapati. She says, yes, your wish will be fulfilled. I have got sanction from the Lord Creator Himself, and with His sanction, I am granting you the boon of a daughter from the Yajna Kunda, from the flame, the altar flame. She is speaking to Ashwapati, and she says, one shall descend. Yes, we are praying for that. I heard your prayer. One shall descend. and change things here. That one shall descend, obviously it is she who herself is going to take the mortal birth. Now, because it is from the fire that goddess is risen, it is that flame which has consented to take birth here. It is therefore we have got the birth of the flame. Again, it is connected with the tapasya of Ashwapati. He is getting the boon from the divine goddess in the form of her appearance in the fire there, and therefore she becomes the flame here. She takes the birth here. In fact, in the previous canto, the vision and the boon, Goddess Savitri, the Divine Mother herself, appears and grants him the boon. And she tells Ashwapati, I heard your prayer. O son of strength, she is calling him the son of strength. I heard your prayer and I am pleased with your prayer. You shall have a daughter. She, of course, she doesn't say one. She says, she says one. She doesn't say daughter. One shall descend. Actually, Ashwapati's prayer was here in Shivanur Savitri specific. He says that if the problem of this creation is to be solved, if the obstacle which is standing in the way of the divine manifestation is to be removed, then that can be removed only by the divine power, by the divine Shakti, by herself taking the birth. That is the specific prayer. So it is in response to that, Ashwapati is asking for her birth here. Whereas in the Mahabharata story, Ashwapati is asking for a son. Instead of son, he is given a daughter. And he is also told, look, I got a chit from Brahma that he has sanctioned a daughter to you and be happy with it. Don't question that decision of Brahma. You accept that you are going to have a daughter. And Ashwapati accepts it and comes back, etc. Here, Ashwapati's prayer is specific. This creation's problem, if it is to be solved, it is only by the mortal birth of divine Shakti that it can be tackled, not otherwise. Divine Shakti's birth is what he is demanding, and she grants him that. In fact, we have got that beautiful phrase in the title book, The Mother. She condescended to pass through the birth, through the portals of the birth, that is a death. To the portals of the birth, that is, she condescended. She has agreed to come down here and go through that process. Because that is the only solution, that is the only way by which things can be tackled here. The yoke of ignorance and death which is there on the soul of the earth can be removed only by that divine power, by none else. Therefore, the Divine Mother tells Ashwapati, grants Ashwapati, one shall descend. She will come here with a conqueror's sword. She is assuring him, look, she will definitely come and win the victory. Conqueror's sword she will come. Any obstacle, any enemy, whosoever may stand in the way, will be removed by her use of the conqueror's sword. And she also tells him, fate shall be changed by an unchanging will. By an unchanging will. Fate shall be changed. The fate of this world, the sorrowful condition in which this mortal creation is presently experiencing, which we are experiencing, that fate of man will be removed only by her unchanging will. Nobody can dislodge her from her determination. So that is the kind of a boon Savitri, divine Savitri, gives to Ashwapati, who himself is now the Lord of the forces of nature, Lord of life, Ashwapati, Ashwa, life forces, Lord, Pati. It is the Lord of Ashwapati, Lord of life forces. It is he who gets this boon of the birth of a conqueror, of a daughter who will be carrying with her the conqueror's sword. One sword is enough for her. One sword is enough for her. See, in Durga, the goddess Durga, she is described as carrying 10 weapons, Dasha Praharana, 10 weapons in 10 hands. She is carrying 10 weapons in 10 hands. The different gods give their weapons to her to fight against the hostile forces. She is carrying 10 weapons, Dasha Praharana Dharini. She is Durga. But in the case of Savitri, one sword is enough, conqueror's sword, and one hand, so to say, she will come and do her work. So that is the kind of an assurance Ashwapati receives, not only an assurance, that becomes a reality, in the sense that soon that eternal Savitri, who moves in the transcendent, beyond time, she steps into the cycles of time, into the rhythms of the earthly movement. She comes back, she comes here and steps into the earthly movement. And therefore, the canto opens with a description of the 6 seasons through which the year goes around. The description follows that she steps into the cycles, into the movements of time, and she comes here. Now, it is also the description of a full year, complete cycle. Complete cycle is important for a number of reasons. One reason is, of course, very apparent, that when she is stepping into the mortal world, she must experience all the facets of a year. She must undergo, she must experience all the aspects of the moments of time. Summer, winter, frost, dew, spring, autumn. She must experience them all if she wants to be really useful, fruitful here. So she has to step into time and experience the full cycle of the year. That is a kind of a natural description of her stepping into the cyclic time. But in an occult way, the more important thing is here is the body of the Supreme in this creation. Here is the body, the full body of the Supreme in this creation is what the year is. So it is Supreme herself who is coming here, and to acquire that body, she has to go, she has to see the whole year through. It is the year which is the body of the Supreme, and therefore the description of the seasons. Not only the description of the seasons here at the beginning of this canto, but we have the most remarkable statement by Narad. He had the occult knowledge of all these things, Narad. He says, 1 year after their marriage of Satyavan and Savitri, Satyavan will die. This day returning, 1 year after this day returning, Satyavan must die. Here again, it is the body of the Supreme which has to be sacrificed. Satyavan has to sacrifice his body. 1 year is the body. He has to sacrifice his body. Why he has to sacrifice the body? Because it is only out of that sacrifice can a new creation arise. A new creation can come only after the sacrifice. So in that sense, Satyavan's death after 1 year is that body of the year of the Supreme which is offered again to the Supreme. In fact, we can say that very first canto, the last line, this was the day when Satyavan must die. This was the day when Satyavan must die. Line number 342 or 41. He must die. Now, again here, the statement is he must die. It is not that he will die. There is a necessity of his death. Therefore, he must die. Satyavan will die would mean as if his death is governed by factors of nature, by fate, by contingencies of things and that kind of a thing, as if he is governed in that manner. So it is not will die, he must die. It is a determined death of Satyavan. 1 year, the body has to be sacrificed, the year has to be sacrificed for the new creation to arise. In fact, this line, Satyavan must die, Satyavan's death is a necessity for the new creation to begin. Satyavan's death is actually, as we have said, the body, the ear is the body of the Supreme, and it is that body of the Supreme which has to die. It has to die to the past so that the future opens out, begins. Now, Satyavan's death in that sense is the second death of the Supreme. Satyavan's death is the second death of the Supreme himself. And with this death, with this second death of the Supreme, a new and marvelous creation will begin upon earth. A new and marvelous creation will begin with the death, the second death of the Supreme. The first death of the Supreme is the most momentous death again, in the sense that it is through that death of the Supreme that things have started here, have begun here. The Supreme himself went out totally. He became nothing. He emptied himself out. He died to himself. He produced the void. He produced the inconscience. And then from that things started happening. That is the first death of the Supreme, of going into the void. The first death of the Supreme is going into the void. The second death of the Supreme is the beginning of the new and marvelous creation. So it is in that context that things had to happen. Now, in the first death, which is chanted very gloriously in a very loud voice by the Veda himself, there is a hymn in the Vedas called the Purusha Sukta. Purusha Sukta describes in detail how the Supreme sacrificed himself. And out of that sacrifice of the Supreme, how the creation, how the order of this world began. That is the beginning of this creation, chanted by the Veda in the nature of a Purusha Sukta, the hymn of the Supreme Being. Purusha Sukta, the hymn of the Supreme Being. With that, things have started happening. The second death is what is now being chanted in the most glorious way by the poet of Savitri. The epic Savitri is the chant of the second death, second sacrifice of the Supreme Being. That is what we have here in Savitri. Savitri would mean that essentially, you see. Now, so the eternal, therefore the body of the ear would mean all that. He has sacrificed himself to give rise to a new creation. Now, of course, in the case of the first death, the Supreme simply disappears, becomes nothing, becomes void. In the second death, it is necessary that this death must occur in the lap of Savitri. It must occur in the lap of Savitri. And it is that divine power in her lap, in her Shakti, in her possession, in putting yourself entirely in the hands of the divine Shakti, that the death will be fructified, will bear fruit. So Satyavan's death is actually in the lap of Savitri. And if that death has to take place, the second death, if it has to take place, there has to be the presence of Savitri here. Savitri must come here to bear Satyavan on her lap and offer him to the divine. And therefore, we start with again the birth and child of flame, so that this flame will bear the body of the ear of Satyavan's second death. He will die in her lap. This is important. His death in the lap of Savitri, and therefore Savitri and the whole second part of the book, second half of the book, is now devoted entirely to the ministry of Savitri. The first is the tapasya of Ashwapati, to bring her power down here, to get the boon. One should descend, and she will come with the conqueror's sword. That is the first half. The second half now is the work, the mission, the triumph, the glory of Savitri here. Now, the seasons move in a cyclic manner here, and when the seasons are moving here, when such a birth is going to take place, we have a very beautiful line here, 93.17. Earth was a comrade of a happy sun. 93.17. Earth was a comrade of a happy sun. So this is what happens. This is what happens in the month of spring, of course. That is the thing. But the connotation is now, Earth is in the companionship of the Supreme Light. It is she who is going to come here with that light. She is going to come here. Earth, a comrade of a happy sun. Happy sun, here of course would stand the daughter of the sun. Sun's daughter. Savitri is the daughter of the sun. And this earth is in the happy company of that daughter. And what happens then? Because of that, we have here time opened its chambers of felicity. The cyclic time which is there, it has gone through the whole cycle, It has opened its doors now for the felicity, for the happiness, for the bliss, for the joy to rush into this creation. Time open to chambers of felicity with that thing, because of that happiness, you see. Now that is the description of Savitri's arrival here. And it is also a description when she comes here, she comes with all happiness, with joy in the month of spring. And suddenly we have in the last sentence of the section 93.31, we have Ashoka's burned in crimson spots of flame. Ashoka's burned in crimson spots of flame. The griefless tree blooming in crimson spots of flame. And the jasmines haunted the enamored air, and mango blossoms fed with the liquid voice, the birds are singing with the liquid voice, and sunlight, a great God's golden smile. That is the arrival of Savitri. Sunlight, a great God's golden smile. And nature, of course, at beauty's festival. That is the completion of the year. Nature at beauty's festival. And therefore, this is the most opportune moment for Savitri to take birth. She is about to be born here in the spring. And if you want to stretch a little here and there, in the month of February, she comes here. Now, it is under these circumstances, under these conditions, that Savitri's birth takes place. And he says, in this high signal moment of the gods, 94.1, in this high signal moment of the gods. So this is the moment of the gods. The gods have been preparing for this moment. They have been waiting for this moment. They were working out things here, that things will happen here. And therefore it is a signal moment to the gods. And it is in answer to the gods, it is in answer to the gods that she comes here. In this high signal moment to the God, answering us yearning and a cry of bliss, a greatness from our other countries came. That is Savitri. Now he says that, well, there are other countries than the mortal worlds in which we live here, the immortal worlds here. We are not aware of them. The poet is aware of them. That, look, this is not all we are. We have other countries. We never visit them. That is a little unfortunate thing. We start better visiting them at least from time to time, see, and enjoy some kind of a vacation there, see, and come back here to do our work once more, see. So she comes from those other countries here, from the transcendental realms. Her source, her station, her native home is in the transcendent. It is from there that she comes here. And she descends here into the earth's imperfect mold, into mortality. 94.4. She descends into earth's imperfect mold. That is the birth of the flame in the imperfect mold. And what for? She comes here. She comes here again and again, once more, once more, once more. She keeps on coming here. She takes up again her unfinished divine task. 95, 94.6. Again there was renewed, again revealed the ancient closeness by earth, vision veiled, the secret contact broken off in time, a consanguinity between the human portion and toiling foes here, and as an yet unborn and limitless force. Again the mystic deep attempt began. Again, mystic deep attempt began. So this flame in human birth comes again and again in human birth. Her birth is permanent once in the beginning, but she keeps on coming here again and again. For what purpose? Because she has to carry on the work, unfinished divine task. She has to take it forward, this evolution. She drives our souls to new attempts. She drives our souls to new attempts. And then again, 94.11. Once more that will put on an earthly shape. So that is the kind of a birth which keeps on happening, or that immortal flame. You see? And then we have in 18, at once she seemed to found a mightier race. When she comes here now, the moment that birth takes place, she is ready to establish a mightier race, a new race here at once. And then later on the next page, her spirit kept the stature of the God, 94.31. Her spirit kept the stature of the God. Although she has taken the mortal birth, accepted the conditions of the earth, the limitations of this world, the anguish, the sorrow, the suffering, the imperfections, the misery, she has accepted. Yet her spirit kept the stature of the God, nobly, proudly. She walks like a God here on this earth, in order to establish the divine reign upon matter. She is always one with the greater nature. And then later on, 94.45, Savitri, young girl, her aspiration called high destiny down. That is the aspiration she already has as a young girl. As a young girl, she is calling down the high destiny here. Her aspiration called high destiny down. A silent warrior. She has come with a conqueror's sword, and she is carrying the sword with her here. And then many high gods dwelt in one beautiful home. That is Savitri. Savitri has already come, housing all those transcendental gods. 94.48. Many high gods dwelt in one beautiful home. That is Savitri's beauty. And the gods are already dwelling in that young house. You see. And then her body an image. Next sentence. Her body an image made of heaven's transparent light. She is not wearing our gross physical, the dull physical, the inert physical. The body which he is having is the body, an image made of heaven's transparent robe, as if you can see through the whole truth, the whole beauty that is there behind the body itself. The body itself is housing that. So such is the birth of the divine Savitri here amongst us. And then Savitri comes here, the next canto, the growth of the flame. '95. Where she is born? She is born in Madura. And what kind of place that thing is, that Madura, that is what we have in the beginning of this canto. Land filled with the mightiest works of God and man. It is in that place the birth of Savitri takes place. Land filled with the mightiest works of God and man. It is in that place Savitri's birth occurs. It is in that place Savitri grows. Here is a place where nature and soul compete with each other for nobility. Yes, I am noble. Nature also says, yes, I am also noble. Nature and soul, they kind of compete with each other in the nobility. The greatness, the loftiness of the soul is matched with the greatness and loftiness of nature. It is in that condition they are moving forward. Life's events lead her to secret power. 95.8. Savitri is going from places, is growing up rapidly, and life's events which she is going to encounter here lead her to the secret powers which are lost in her. They have to come out. She has taken a human birth. All the powers are there already in her, but now they have to become overt. They have to come out. They have to function. They have to do the work here. They are there for nothing. They have to come out and do their work. So life's events lead her to secret powers, that these powers emerge and start functioning. And in that process, in order to do that work, in order to make those powers active, she has to kind of undergo the human training, education. She has to learn the sciences and arts and the craft of this world, the techniques, technology, mechanics, dynamics, everything of this creation here. She acquires knowledge of man and of the world. Savitri grows rapidly. Arts and crafts and philosophies and sciences, astronomy, all the sciences she has mastered as human Savitri. These are her now nature's food. It is on these things she is living. Earth, why she has to acquire this thing? Because earth has to become a stepping stone to conquer heaven. Unless you prepare yourself fully in every respect, whatever the earth offers to you, unless you acquire that, you cannot go and conquer heaven. Savitri has to acquire that knowledge of the earth in every respect. That becomes then the stepping stone for her to conquer heaven. That is her education. All the esoteric knowledge, all the secular knowledge, all the sciences and technologies and spirituality and scriptures, everything, intuition, knowledge, everything she has to acquire, so that on the basis of that then she can jump up and reach heaven. She can conquer heaven. That is the necessity. In fact, that is the direction in which our education should move, as a hint, so to say. Of course, this is unique to Savitri, but that is the hint also. Please introduce this kind of system in your educational curricula. This is the basis. Acquire the knowledge of the earth to acquire the knowledge of the skies. With that kind of education, naturally, Savitri becomes exceptional girl, an exceptional girl. She has a unique kind of education here, and she therefore becomes exceptional. Exceptional to such an extent that she has no companions around her. She cannot really, so to say, mix with anybody around here because nobody is equal to her. They love her, they adore her, they try to approach her, but she is too divine, too far away from the common person. And Savitri sort of falls alone in her uniqueness, in her quality, you see. None could match her soul's measures. In fact, that is the crucial thing. Her soul's measures are matchless. No human soul can come closer to the soul of Savitri. 95.22, see this is what we got. Even the close partners of her thoughts, who could have walked the nearest to her ray, worshipped the power and light. They felt in her. Yes, they do feel something in her. They worship it, they adore it, but could not match the measure of her soul. That is the greatness, that is the distinction, that is the uniqueness of Savitri. And therefore, that also becomes a problem. Because none can come and be equal, be her life's partner. She will have difficulty in finding a mate who will match with her. That is the difficulty also now in the case of Savitri. None could stand up for her equal and her mate. This is what we got, 96.1. But mid this world, these hearts that answered her call, none could stand up her equal and her mate. Her greater self lived alone. Savitri's greater self, soul, single, alone. Alone, unclaimed. 96.4. Unclaimed. Her greater self lived, soul unclaimed within. Too great was her demand. Yes, if you want to satisfy Savitri, you have to be really big, very big, very big to demand, to satisfy her demand. Too pure her force. Only one who is really pure in his soul, he alone can approach Savitri. With all the turbidity which is there in us, impossible to go closer to her. You see, impossible. Too great was the demand, too pure her force. 96.10. So what we have here now, Savitri living alone. She has no companion, true companion, real companion, without a link with the wide world. That is not a very happy situation. Savitri has come here to have contact with the world. But she is so unique, so different from the world that nobody comes to her. So that is a little paradoxical thing also, you see. She lived alone, without a link with the wide world. Unless that link is there, what can she do? she has to find the link. She has to discover the link with this world. She has to find her mate. Then only she can proceed further. A power within her, there is such a power in her that it always awes us. This imperfect flesh of ours is afraid of approaching that power of Savitri. Impossible to approach her, this imperfect flesh of ours. We cannot go closer to her at all. But Savitri has strength within her. The strength within was the only comrade she had, 97.10. Only a comrade is the strength within. That is the condition of Savitri. The strength within, S capital, the divine Shakti within, is the only comrade Savitri has up to this point. Now, this is how the flame grows and feels itself lonely. And because the flame has to interact with the world, a link has to be established with the world. Savitri has to find a mate, and therefore Savitri has to receive a call, she has to receive a command to find her mate. And therefore we are now in the third canto, a call to the quest. It comes there, you see. Now this call is something which is ancient. In fact, we have in this second sentence itself, 98.2, an ancient longing struck again new roots. That link is not there, but there is a longing, age-old longing, ancient longing is there. And that longing is now trying to come up, to spring up. Is striking the roots once more. No, it cannot be so. Things had to change. An ancient longing struck again new roots. Let me see again if it can happen then. And a mighty yearning raises its flame. 98.6. Again, the mighty yearning raised its flame. Once more, that yearning of the earth, the aspiration of the earth is there, and it raises its flame, it rises from here. And then what happens? A seer, a strong creator is within us, 98.10, first line. A seer, a strong creator is within. We have to discover him. That longing is there, but we have to go within and discover that seer, that creator of things here. For what? Because, why we have to discover? Because a greater destiny is waiting for us. (98.11). A greater destiny is waiting for us, and the seer is there, longing is there, and a greater destiny is waiting for us. As a result of that, what happens? In fact, immortal powers sweep flaming past our doors. Our doors are there, and the immortal powers are passing through. 98.16. Heaven's flaming lights descend and back return. 24. 98.24. Heaven's flaming lights descend and back. They come and they go back. They come and they go back. How long? How long this will happen, you see? The gods are still too few. within us. 26. The gods are too few within us. They had to take birth again in us. Things had to happen. Now this is the condition. It is this which Yogi Ashwapati hears in his trance. This is the voice speaking to Ashwapati that the gods are too few within us. The gods are still too few in mortal forms. The voice withdrew into its hidden skies. The gods are too few. What is the answer? But then Ashwapati sees his daughter walking in front of him. The gods are too few, they have to be many. Things have to move on here. Ashwapati sees his daughter there. And suddenly he gets the answer. Yes, it is she who can bring down those gods here. It is she who has to bring down those gods here. And therefore, Ashwapati addresses to his daughter, look, this is the task you have to do. Savitri comes as an answer. In her mortal limbs, there is a deathless meaning. 98:34. Savitri, he sees his daughter there, and he recognizes at once that in her mortal limbs there is some kind of a significance. Deathless meaning is there present in her. And then 37. Body's sense renounces its earthly look. Body's perception senses, they renounce the earthly look, and immortal meets immortal in their gaze. Here is Savitri, physically present, his daughter. But it is not that now his daughter. It is not that this Ashwapati, the king, but it is one immortal looking into the eyes of the other immortal. Ashwapati, the immortal, looking into the eyes of Savitri, the immortal. 34. Body's sense announces his earthly look, so it is no more his daughter in that sense. Savitri, who is a traveler from eternity, moving into time. It is she whom Ashwapati is now seeing, eternity, who is moving now in time. And what does he see in her? A mighty presence. The divine presence itself is what he sees in her. 98.44. A mighty presence still defends thy frame. You have taken the mortal birth, all right. You have come here to this world. But actually, what is present in you is a mighty presence. It is there always with you. And it is that which will carry you through. It is that which will see your life develop for the function, for the purpose for which you have taken this birth. And he also tells to Savitri, look, Savitri, 98:50, thy soul has strength and needs no other guide. You don't need anybody else to tell you, do this, do that, guide. Thy soul has strength than one who burns within thy bosom's power. There is one who is already burning constantly within you, and it is he who will guide you, who will take you forward, who will carry your life forward, you see. So he says, he tells Savitri basically, find who shall walk to thy body's end. 98:51. who shall give voice to what in thee is mute. Find one who shall give voice to what is silent, what is passive, what has not woken up in you yet. You have to go and find him. Find who shall walk to thy body's end. Find him for what? To confront heaven's question. 9853. To confront heaven's question. What is that question? Of life. That is a question heaven is putting to you. Heaven's question, life. You have to confront that question of heaven. You have strength within you. You have everything in you. That presence is there with you. You go and find that thing by which you will be able to confront the heaven's question, life. Life, why it is caught in the net of death. Can that be taken out? That is the question of heaven. How can that be taken out of death? It is that which you have to go and solve. And for that purpose, to answer that question of heaven, you have to ascend from nature to divinity's heights. You have to ascend from nature to divinity's heights. 98.54. Ascend from nature to divinity's height. Ascend from nature to divinity's heights. Face the high gods crowned with felicity. The high gods are full of felicity up there. You have to go and confront them also. Then meet a greater God, thyself beyond time. It is him you have to go. Now that is the kind of command the father is giving to the daughter. The immortal is looking into the eyes of the immortal, and the communication is ascend from nature to divinity's heights. Face the high gods. Yes, the gods are fixed. They are very bright, they are very brilliant, they are very powerful, but they are frozen in their capacities. You have to meet them, you have to go even beyond them. You have to challenge them also, the high gods, crowned with felicity. Then meet a greater God. It is that greater God who will give you the true boon, the true gift. You have to go and meet. And this is exactly what happens in the 11th book, the book of everlasting day. When Savitri meets the Supreme Himself there she meets the greater God. Then meet a greater God, thyself beyond time. It is there, up there, is your true self. Now this is the kind of a command the father is issuing to his daughter. And that command comes like a mantra. It sings in the soul of Savitri. That mantra sings in the soul of Savitri. It seizes her soul immediately. It grips it immediately. That command of Ashwapati. Because when Ashwapati is telling that to his daughter, he is in fact putting all his yogic force in that word. The full yogic force is there. And it is that yogic force now which is entering into the soul of Savitri. And Savitri is seized by that command. It is that yogic force now within her which is going to operate, which is going to function, which is going to take her further in her life's journey. So that mantra has now already sunk in the soul of Savitri. See. That mantra can sink in you only when the mind falls silent, not in a noisy mind, not in the bazaar, in the mart of mind, but when it is silent in the tranquil mind. Then only that mantra is seen. Savitri's mind is always silent. The fact that she is receiving that mantra and it is getting established in her soul, it means that the soul has heard it not mind. Mind is not there at all. Savitri, the young girl, her mind is already silent. A silent mind is there. And therefore, this word directly goes into her soul and gets fixed there. The sound of the soul is then heard. The word repeats itself constantly. When that mantra is there, it keeps on kind of repeating rhythmically. Yes, 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 yes. I have to do this. I have to do this. I have to do this. It keeps on kind of hammering in you and carrying you forward. The word repeats itself. A rhythmic strain. Body self is seized. Even the physical body is seized by the power of that mantra. A wisdom is felt. A power acts. That is the power of mantra. A wisdom is felt. A power acts. Knowledge rushes like a sea, and God's face becomes visible. You start seeing God in front of you when the mantra sings. God's face becomes visible. And when you speak the transcendental speech, Paravani, the language of the Supreme Himself. It is that which you speak then. So that is the power of mantra which has already got now established in the soul of Savitri. Knowledge is rushing like a sea. God's face has become visible to her. Transcendental speech is heard in her inner ear. And with that, then the quest begins. With that power of the mantra, wide way to the world open before Savitri. Because Savitri, she has to find a link. She is not getting a proper mate. That link is not there with her and with the world. So the wide way is open to Savitri. She has to find the link between herself and the world. And she has to go now from place to place. She has to travel again for a full year. Year, the body of the Supreme. She has to go again to the whole year to find her mate. The quest begins. It is a faithful quest. And it goes on. And Savitri is on her journey. What does she see at once? She feels that, well, she has been traveling over and over again. This is not the new journey she is making. She is kind of recollecting, remembering the past journey she had made earlier, in the earlier process. All was a part of old, forgotten selves. 99.6. All was a part of old, forgotten self. She recalls the bygone events and places. Yes, I had been to this place. Yes, this is what happened earlier also. Nothing seems to be new to her. Some kind of a memory awakens in her, tracing a journey again, often met. Tracing a journey again, often met, often met. That's an important thing, you see. She has been moving again. In fact, what are instruments of a mechanical force? We have been doing as slaves of nature. Under the force of nature, things happen. Those instruments, now, they have opened up in such a way that they serve the purpose of the Supreme. Her memory, her recollections, all that thing now have opened out so that they serve the purpose of the Supreme for which now Savitri is in her quest. Upon a silent height, she was aware of a calm presence. One four, 99.14. 1-4. Upon a silent height, she was aware. She is aware only of whom? Of the divine presence, the calm presence. Yes, she is here, human Savitri, but she is aware that there is somebody from above who is overseeing all her movements. Want something? Yeah. You want the lights on? Can you put the lights on? Upon the silent eye, she was aware of a calm presence. That is the most important thing. While Savitri is on her quest, she is constantly aware of somebody supervising from above, constantly. And then it is somebody a way prepared by an unerring guide. Last line of the same sentence, 99.14. Savitri is aware of the presence from above, and she is also aware that the way she is going in different directions to different places, there is the unerring guide. He is going to lead her this way, that way, that way, that way. Things are going to happen. The presence, the guide. And then, in the next sentence, driven from within, she followed her long road. Her quest is, therefore, having these three elements. Her quest is having these three elements. The presence supervising from above, the guide taking her along different roads, and she being driven constantly from within. That is the crux of Savitri's quest. You have to have all the three things simultaneously: the presence, the guide, and being driven from within. And while she is moving, then obviously it is the inner ear that listens to solitude. Savitri is going from place to place, to countryside, to capital cities and all that. She is coming now to the places of spiritual practices, the land of tapasya. And you have to have an inner ear which can listen to the solitude, sharp enough, sensitive enough. The inner ear that listens to solitude. And then, as she is going from place to place, she sees different types of people engaged in spiritual practices. The king sages, the anchorites, the ascetics, the seers, the rishis, the munis, all kind of spiritual seekers and spiritual aspirants of different siddhis. She sees them while she is going from place to place. Therefore, her inner ear is what can listen to what is happening all around here. A voice profound in the ecstasy of the hush. That is what she sees. That there is the silence of the spiritual silence is there, and in that 99.34, there is the spiritual silence, and in the silence, a voice is heard, a profound voice. And attuned, some of them are attuned to silence and to the world rhyme. Some of them are waiting for the behest of the infinite. Yes, we have done our work here. We are now ready to go and live in the infinite. Some of them see God's delight in everything in this creation. All these objects, nature, mountains, rivers, streams, trees, forests, birds, animals, creatures, men. Everyone, in everybody, some of them see nothing but the delight of God. Ananda, Ananda, Ananda. That is what they experience everywhere. There are spiritual people like that. And then In some cases, for some, the intuition rushes with its knowledge. Inspiration comes with its power. Revelation comes with all stupendous light. That is what they receive. They hear the sounds which we cannot hear at all. So the intuitions rush, the revelations come with light, inspiration pours into them like a stream constantly. And what do you say then? Occult lines forever closed, lines which have remained closed, they open out to new possibilities. Occult line, yes, I can go here and stop there. I can go here and stop there. I can go here and stop there. No, now with this new knowledge, these lines also can open out towards another kind of a fulfillment for each of them. Occult lines forever closed. Chains of birth, they are all cast away. And what is one is the kinship with the eternal calm. The kinship with the eternal calm. That is what is one there. And such is the fateful quest of Savitri. Fateful quest of Savitri for what? For meeting a predestined face. A face which has been already destined, to whom she is meant to meet. It is towards that the quest is moving. 100.10 10. Still unaccomplished was the fateful quest. Still she found not the one predestined face, for which she sought amid the sons of men. That is important. She has to seek in the world here. She has to seek here. She is moving from place to place. She has not yet come to that place. But then soon she will enter into a place in the next canto, next book, the destined meeting place. She's going to enter now into the destined meeting place. But now the destined spot and hour were closed. After long journey of 1 year, she is going to arrive at the destined meeting place. Destined in both ways, in time and in location. Destined spot and hour were closed. She is about to meet the one whom she has been seeking all this long.